All right, everybody, good Monday morning, start of another week, and we've got another training camp session to go into with the Seahawks, and this time I'm not going to bury the lead. I'm going to talk about the thing that most people have on their minds right now when it comes to this team and what we're going to have when the season starts. That is, who's going to start at quarterback. The mock game made a lot of people think that maybe this was the moment. Maybe this is the moment when Drew Lock starts to pull ahead of Geno, where he starts to show that he is the better quarterback. He is the right guy to lead this team. A lot of people thought maybe that was a seminal moment for him when he clearly outplayed Geno in the mock game, but the next day, Geno Smith took every rep with the starting offense, and Drew Lock took every rep with the backup offense. So, for the moment, that has not proved to be the seminal moment. Drew Lock is still in second place, and Geno Smith holds a lead. It may be a smaller lead, and it may be something that can be overcome in the next week or two, but it still seems like Geno's the nominal starter. And there are a couple different ways to read into that. There are a couple of different theories as to why, some of them a little conspiratorial. To me, if I had to guess, I think it's actually pretty simple. Geno Smith played okay last year in 3.5 games. He played really well against the Rams when he came in off the bench. He played modestly, kind of, sort of okay against the Steelers on the road. He played bad against the Saints. Okay, another elite defense, by the way. And then he played really well against Jacksonville. So, in Pete's mind, that weighs more than anything Drew Lock is showing in camp or in a mock game. And even though we look at it and go, Drew Lock looks like he might be better than Geno, I think Carroll still has last year in his mind, where Geno played for him in this offense with a lot of these players and played decently. He had one turnover that was his fault across 3.5 games. We were in every game that he played in or running away with in the case of the game we won. And even the Saints game, by the way, Geno played bad. But Carroll's sitting there kind of thinking like, we missed 2 field goals in that game. We make those field goals, I think we win. And even with Geno not playing so well, do I put the blame on him? Like, Pete's thinking stuff like that. So it seems to me that Geno, I'm not saying his lead is insurmountable right now, but what I'm trying to say is a mock game is not going to undo that thought. So we've got preseason coming up soon, and what we see in the preseason might actually start shifting the narrative in the mind of the people who really matter. Carroll, Waldron, etc. The guys who actually decide who starts and who doesn't. So in order for Drew Lock to overcome what Carroll saw from Geno last year, I think he's just going to have to play better in the preseason, like noticeably better. And he may have to do it playing a lot of snaps with the backup offense, which there's going to be a little bit of a difficulty curve there, but I suspect that's what we're looking at right now. I can say that there is the possibility that they were planning on giving Geno the starting offense in this practice no matter what, and the mock game just wasn't going to move that. But I just feel like Carroll looks at Geno and sees a guy who he knows can play adequately, and he looks at Drew Lock and he's just not sure that he has that. We know that Carroll really doesn't like turnovers. So he looks at Geno, a guy who, like I said, had one turnover in 3.5 games that was his fault, and he goes, that is something I can work with as a coach in this league. If Drew Lock is going to go out there and have multiple turnovers in every game, which he is fully capable of doing, then I can't win with that. I'm not going to tolerate that. So we'll see where it goes from here, but that's my read. Geno Smith still in the lead. That's the big story. There are a few other things that came up in camp yesterday, that I want to go over as well. Not any as big as this, but big nonetheless. So, Abraham Lucas. Now, here's a guy, and I'm going to channel my Chris Collinsworth here. Here's a guy who is actually moving into the starting role, it looks like, because he has now been the starting right tackle for the third straight day. He has jumped ahead of Krivoshein, it seems like, and I'm not getting the sense he's going to let it go. So Abe Lucas has been the starting right tackle for 3 days now. That has to mean something. That has to mean they've looked at him and gone, look, Krivoshein, we like you. It's cool to have you around. It's awesome what you're doing. You're exceeding a lot of people's expectations. But they've looked at Abe Lucas and said, this is a guy who has a much higher ceiling, more talent, more ability, which I agree with. And we're not going to have to wait very long to see him, it looks like. It looks like he may end up being that week 1 starter, which I was wondering about. But I'm going to say the same thing I said about Geno and Locke. What you see in camp and even the mock game is not necessarily going to move anybody's mind. Preseason is going to give you the ability to start changing minds, and then you need the real games to really do it. Other than that, Tariq Woolen continues to work with the starters because Sidney Jones is out. It's starting to get a little alarming here because we know that Sidney Jones got a concussion, and that's no joke. So hopefully he's fine. Trey Brown's still on the PUP list. We don't know when he's going to be back. It sounds like it's going to be soon, but it might not be soon enough for him to play week 1. So we're losing a little bit of depth at corner because of these injuries. I think Ryan Neal is in a boot right now. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I believe Ryan Neal's in a boot at the moment. So there's a little discomfort at the cornerback position right now, I think. So hopefully that clears up. Right now, Tariq Woolen is getting in work with the starters, which is great for him. I imagine it's only going to help. It seems like he's fitting in. He's doing things the right way, which... Look, I'm going to continue to say that he'll probably be a bit of a rookie redshirt, at least defensively, but I didn't expect him to come along this quickly in some ways. And Artie Burns, also kicking butt, absolutely beyond my expectations when we signed him. I thought he was going to be fine. I didn't think he was going to be standing out pretty much every single time he practices. So those are your starting corners right now. Kobe and Michael Jackson are kicking around. And... We'll hope this injury stuff clears up quickly. Speaking of injury stuff, I got some good news and some bad news. The only other big events from training camp that I was able to take note of from yesterday, Jordan Brooks was back. So the minor hamstring injury was indeed minor. He missed a little bit of time and now he's back. So Jordan Brooks looks like he's going to be ready to go for the first preseason game if we want to play him. Bad news is LJ Collier, the lone significant injury from the mock game, has his elbow wrapped and he did not practice yesterday. So in what is kind of the last ditch effort to get something out of Collier in 2022, there's no way he's going to be here next year unless he suddenly turns into Warren Sapp. It's not the best of starts for him, right? Now he's missing practice time. He's probably going to miss some preseason time. If it was significant enough to get it wrapped, you would expect him to miss at least a little bit of time there. So that's not great. But other than that, I didn't hear a whole lot else. A lot of the focus was on the Geno and Drew Lock thing. So I think we're just going to need to wait until the preseason. If Lock outplays Geno in that first game against Pittsburgh, then maybe opinions can start to be changed in the mind of Carroll and Waldron and company. All right, guys. I will see you guys later on today. Going to have a Mariners video. See you there. Go Hawks.